I'm going to start today's presentation with something that was very interesting to me, and it's really this nice video that I've got here. I'm going to start it now. So I'll explain the reason why I started with this video, but this is something that's really interesting to me, and I wanted to share it with you all. Obviously, this is a Starship flight test, and this is something that has been in the news recently. Elon Musk managed not only to launch a rocket in this way, but he also managed to be the first person in history to catch a reusable rocket in this way as well. I know we've had space shuttle in the past, but I wanted to start this, and in crypto community we always talk about then sending things to the moon. This is an interesting part of the presentation, and recently as well, the founder of SpaceX, or the CEO of SpaceX, he also has given a lot of endorsement to the crypto community. So I think this is all very interesting, and we'll start off into the next parts of our presentation. So the next part here, I wanted to give an overview, and it's a sign of the times that we're currently living in. And this was a quote very recently, and it was a quote talking about meme coins, Solana meme coins, actually. This is a very interesting one because it's from the head of financial products at Bybit, and Bybit now apparently is the second largest exchange by volume. It's a centralized exchange, which is very similar to Blocktrade. And what they're sort of saying here is that there's a absurdity about the current fiat system, which I think a lot of people in cryptocurrency feel as well, that a lot of strange things are going on, paper money. But at the same time, the crypto community is very busy also doing the same things as well, printing meme coins, pumping them. And I find it very interesting, and this is not an attack on anyone, but that the head of financial products of an exchange, which survives a lot on trade of meme coins, is saying that it's absurd, but they're actually profiting heavily from this. So for me, I think one of the interesting things is that we want to go, and I always had this in my mind since I was young, which is if you want to reach the moon, we got to aim for the stars. And why I showed the clip earlier of the Starship launch test flight is because I think this, firstly, I really admire this guy because, it takes a lot, whatever anyone says is he had a lot of money to start with or whatever. This guy, he took an idea and things that have required entire nations to do. And that's actually the reality, is that Elon Musk and SpaceX have done. It has launched more space missions than entire nation state actors. And this is just really, really interesting to me that a person, an actual normal commercial person, decided that, hey, I'm going to do better than entire countries with budgets and laws and everything else that they can do. And I think this is just really super interesting. And this is the situation which I say, like, to reach the moon, we got to aim for the stars. So this, for me, what does this mean? It means the democratization of finance. And this is where why I wanted to show that clip, why I wanted to show this, because realistically, one of the goals when I first read about the mission of SpaceX and what SpaceX is trying to do is that he really wanted to make space travel, launching things into space, affordable. And to me, making something affordable actually democratizes it. And in this sense, democratizing is meaning that everyone gets a chance. And that's what the original start of democratization, which a democracy, which started in Europe actually, was the allowing the normal people to have a say so in how they're governed instead of just elites. And behind this, I've mentioned previously in other presentations, we have the FSR group, and this is something that's interesting to me as well. I'm showing you here, and this is something that we're trying to achieve. So similarly, for FSR group and for myself, really, what I like to see and what I think is very interesting is actually that we could do for finance what SpaceX is doing for space travel. And you think about that for a moment, you have a guy who transcends something that was a fixed on a particular country. So they had a space race between US and Russia. And then this guy and other, nation states and whatnot, China got involved and these types of things. What it was super interesting thing to me for this is that this one guy came out and he said, "Look, I'm going to do better than all of these guys. I'm going to do it privately." And I think this is was just something really amazing and something that really just impressed me and touched me when I saw it. So that is the start of today's presentation in that sense. And I wanted to lead that in so that we have something interesting to talk about. I'm going to keep the update part really to the point, and then I'll give more time for questions and answers later on. So this is Q3. I would call this Q3 because we just finished September. So that was the end of the third quarter. So we're going to give an update. And the theme for this is a vision for the future of finance. So today's 21st of October. I'm Sam. For those who haven't met me yet, I'm the director of Blocktrade SA, which is this company which many people have invested in, and it's also the company that you trade with when you trade your cryptocurrency on the Blocktrade platform. I'm also the chairman of the FSR group, as I mentioned, and as I said, what the main goal of the FSR group, the mission, is the democratization of finance, making finance accessible and available to everybody. So today's agenda is just really simple. It's going to be our welcome. I'm going to give some updates on operations, collaborations, and even a little bit of touch on BTEX because there have been many questions about this. We're going to talk about the need for a global marketplace, talk about cross-border regulatory alignment, preview, a roadmap and a timeline, and then we'll go into the Q&A session. So I've used up just over 10 minutes. I hope the pacing and everything is fine for everyone. For those who found that the initial part of what I mentioned is a little bit boring or didn't make sense, I hope that you will as we go through. But basically, I just wanted to share with everyone some things that I felt was really interesting and very exciting for me. And I wanted to share a little bit about the kind of, I guess, ambition and the daring confidence that it takes to do something that other people have not done and not just follow. So as part of this, I wanted to also mention that going forward, we'll attempt to regularize ourselves and just, make it possible that we do have monthly updates. So probably what we can do is that we'll look at doing a monthly update, either in the form of a posting, like a blog post, or holding every other month a kind of Q&A AMA type session. So I may not necessarily do an AMA every month. Unfortunately, I also have a lot of schedule to do things within the company itself and other endeavors that I have. But let's try to do that. And then quarterly, for sure, at the end of each quarter, it's kind of like this time, we'll give some report on what's happening, and give everybody a chance to give feedback and thoughts on where we're headed. So as part of the update today, I'm going to talk about operations. So this is the main thing that I've been focused on in the last quarter. So from basically the end of June, which is July, August, and September, what we've been focused on is operations. This has been super important for us because when I first came into Blocktrade, there were a lot of things to work on, and we've been able to manage to do that. So we have a situation where we're getting the team integrated, whereby a lot of the functions and a lot of the things that were happening in the past purely only on the existing Blocktrade team, we're now handling this through also through the FSR group as well. We have a lot of synergies that are happening in place as well with the way that we're able to develop our policies, our procedures, and operations as well between the integration of FSR Group and Blocktrade. And this is also very interesting because it's also like 3 time zones. So basically, FSR Group is operating now between Asia, America, and Europe, and yet everything has been going pretty well. And what this has resulted in, and this is, I'm sure, especially interesting for investors in Blocktrade, is that we've been able to bring like massive cost efficiencies to the business. I think this is really important. Whenever I invest in any business, I always look at fiscal responsibility, or how well does the company manage its finances, that we don't waste money, that we don't do silly things with our money, and that we make sure that everything is used and put into the right place. So what we've been able to do with this synergizing and integrating is really just bringing huge cost efficiencies. And what this means is not just cutting things down. What it means is that we can use the additional fiscal room, or by having less pressure on us to spend, we can use this additional space to invest and develop things for the future, rather than keeping just purely on keeping the lights on, so to speak. So I think this is an interesting point. I'd like to point out to those who have invested and who's been kind and to be part of this project. I know it's been there. I wasn't there from the start, but I think it's important for people to know that we've been really responsible with the way we do things. The other thing is that after I've come into Blocktrade itself, I haven't come here to put my hands out to the community without first, putting a lot of my own time and resources into the project. So I think that was really important thing for me to do, and we've been able to achieve that over this quarter. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing over the last quarter in terms of collaborations as well. So I've held some discussions with this is something that's been brought up with us multiple times. It's been said in the various groups, and so I wanted to address it so that we don't end up with just purely a lot of questions about this in the Q&A side. So basically, in the last quarter, we spent time to speak to people from eCredits, eSync group, and in actual fact, we've offered a sort of a helping hand to our brothers and sisters in eSync, and this has been very interesting for us. Hopefully, over the fourth quarter, we'll be able to develop this a little bit further. Same goes for Sky2. I've managed to spend a little bit of time to speak to the people behind Sky2. Previously, I believe that Blocktrade had integrations with Sky2, and this is something that has been brought up in every AMA that I have done so far, asking us about what will Blocktrade's relationship with Sky2 be going forward, what's going to happen. So definitely this is something that we've done over the last quarter. We respond and listen to the feedback, and I've managed to have a face-to-face meeting also with Sharif from Sky 2 as well, when he was just so happened to be in the area. And we'll continue to hold more discussions on this in the next months going forward. And the other question that we always have raised with us is about BTEX. So as far as BTEX is concerned, this was a project that was started again by the previous management team, but that doesn't mean that FSR Group or myself just abandons or walks away from something. And what we're going to try and do here with BTEX is really find very interesting use cases, as I mentioned before. So we spoke about gaming. That was one of them, and this is something that over the last quarter we've spent quite a lot of time to speak to various gaming operators, to speak to gaming publishers. And as if some of you may recall, if you attended the previous AMAs, is that we had opportunity to speak to those people who might look at potentially using our systems, payment systems, on and off ramps for game publishing. So this is something that's really, I think, very interesting. We've seen the great success of this on Telegram. I think that crypto and tokenization, the fintech sort of decentralized finance is really quite interesting thing for utilization for gaming. And being able to use BTEX in that context is one of the interesting things. And we also have some other interesting things that we might like to do, which incorporate part of what we have and what I will present to you guys today. But definitely BTEX is not something that's been forgotten about. I just have to make sure that after the operations, the collaborations, that we do something that with BTEX that is going to drive this project rather than just another, making of promises that we cannot deliver on. So I think I spoke before about the democratization of finance, and the key part of this and what we're trying to talk about here today is actually about what do people need? What does everyone need? And we're not talking about just a few financial elites or anything like this, but what does a global economy need? And one of the things that I had identified was that a global economy needs a global marketplace. And one of the reasons for this is just a big fragmentation, a market fragmentation. And there's lots of different jurisdictions, different countries trying to say things. And that parallel also is one of the parallels to SpaceX and going into space. We've seen various things where different countries, like the space going superpowers, fight with each other about even the space station or any of these types of things. The market is fragmented, and I think what we need is to build ourselves into a global marketplace. Where and for this, it's to create a marketplace where we can have tokenized assets. And that's when I say tokenized assets, I don't want to see something where tokens are the asset, as I was mentioning before, like meme coins, but rather the tokenized assets where we take things that exist as what we have in real life, and representing them by a token, and then they can be listed, traded, and regulated across borders seamlessly. And what I felt that we could do to solve this problem is to have a what we would say is like a global self-regulatory organization. And what this will do is ensure that the assets listed through our framework can be compliant across multiple regions, and making it easier for investors and institutions to buy across borders. And I think that's one of the fantastic things that we're afforded by the internet age and decentralized finance as well, and something that really an online platform like Blocktrade really can help with. So part of this is really to say we want to go from what is currently what I would say is a crypto casino to being a financial institution. And I think this is really what needs to happen, and this is where really the market needs to mature. And again, that's why I gave that parallel to what SpaceX had tried to do with going to space. That you're trying to do something that's really, really difficult. In this sense, is that our community now is full of people that really are focusing on, perhaps you could say, meme coins or this crypto casino type of situation. What we try to do instead is make real financial products ready for the entire market, and democratize this through the use of tokenization. So I really want to see this happen, that we really get rid of this casino mentality and go towards a place where everybody can access to really good products, really good financial products. These should also use a technology that is decentralized so that everybody can know what is truly going on. But at the same time, I think the financial institution aspect of it is really, really interesting. And that's one of the reasons why I see that block trade can be a really big part of this whole situation. And the community is really, really important. And I need the, I'm really going to need the support of everyone to do that. So just a little bit about this idea of what is our global self-regulatory organization. Basically what we're trying to do here, and that I've been working on a lot behind the scenes besides the operations, is setting standards for tokenized asset listings. I'm very familiar with this because I participate in the capital markets, the global capital markets. Basically what we want to do is use modern technology to ensure compliance, security, and transparency. And these things are really done a lot by humans nowadays, but I would like to see that happening more via decentralized systems, AI, and technology. And what I see is that Blocktrade will serve as a core platform within this self-regulatory organization. And we want to use Blocktrade to show how compliant and regulated listings can really make a difference in the global marketplace. This is really what I have in my mind. And as I mentioned before, I think what we really want to do is to have an AI-driven system with automated reviewing, self-submissions, and continuous monitoring to create like an environment that really is transparent, so that what happens, I think a lot of people, they get worried about projects, especially if you invest in them, even Blocktrade itself, where nobody really seems to know exactly what's going on at any particular point in time. And I think what we're trying to do is make a compliant way for this to happen. And that's the point of this global self-regulatory organization. And this is what I wanted to showcase to everyone today, to talk about this. And an example of a self-regulatory organization is, of course, like NASDAQ. This is NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange. These are self-regulated exchanges, and they make their own rules. Of course, these rules are actually reviewed by government bodies, but it's a self-regulatory organization. And I think that by being mature and building this up, our hope is that we also can be part of this and create a global one that goes across borders, and not just one country, but in multiple countries, and use technology to analyze and figure out how best to do this. This is not going to be an easy project, and neither was, again, tying back to the video that I showed to everyone, neither was sending a rocket in space and bringing it back and landing it. That's also not an easy project. But I think that we really need to shoot for something better, so that people are not just getting burned by projects, getting burned by people that just, they shouldn't be in charge of any company or any financial institution or any financial products. So we're trying to use technology to make that system better. Today, what we'll do is I'll just give a little bit of a preview of what something like this may look like. I see here the kind of view, the kind of aesthetic that we're looking at. And I think realistically, why I wanted to do this, and we're actually spent a lot of our time in the last quarter, and you can see by the price of BTC here, it's a little bit outdated. It's something we're still working on, but this is actually a whole development of an entire platform, and this is what our development team has been working on. And this is just a little bit of a preview that of this particular aesthetic. And I think what this is, it shows it's going forward to an investment platform, a regulated investment platform where products that you get involved in are not just going to be pump and dump earning schemes that everyone just, there are few people, insiders make a lot of money and everyone else loses money. And I wanted to show this because I think this is an opportunity for us to draw a line in the sand and move on with everything. And this is just a preview of the platform, by the way. It's not related necessarily directly to any change that we're planning or implementing yet in Blocktrade, but rather what I see as something that's going forward as a global marketplace. So as far as what we're looking at as a roadmap to the future, in the first half of 2025, we'd like to see a launch of the first listings, introduction of our AI-driven review systems, and the integration of that with Blocktrade. So this is what I've done, and our team has been really supportive of. Up to now, we spent 1 quarter and then another quarter going forward to really sort of like stabilize and get everything going and get the integration happening, managed operations well. And we've done that with the help of a great team. Our team that's at Blocktrade has been supportive and really helped us to get to this point. And FSR Group really foresees a real development of Blocktrade going forward. In the second half of 2025, we look at the full implementation of tiered listings and custodial services and cross-border regulatory partnerships. What this means is that but after we get something happening with the first listings, the first reviews of it, we want to see how we can do this across different marketplaces and give opportunities for. I think that's where I think a lot of our original goals when we mentioned that this is like the financial Silk Road or fintech Silk Road. It's about cross-border transactions. If you're in Europe, you get the opportunity to invest a little bit of your portfolio in maybe a slightly higher risk area with a higher potential for return, rather than just sticking to what you have. And that technology should govern these things and not just some unknown people governing these things, that we can use technology in a way that will help us to get safe access to things that will help us to grow our wealth and our livelihoods. And then in 2026 and beyond, we're looking at a continued global expansion, especially in the emerging markets, and the introductions of new tokenized financial products under our framework. So some of these products initially, we may launch ourselves. Some of these projects will look for projects outside. And what we can do is that we can have an opportunity for especially the Blocktrade investors to bring projects to us. And I'm looking at developing some platforms to take more of this feedback in, where we can also introduce projects to our group. And I say our group because we're all in this together. And then we can use our team, including myself, can see how we can bring these projects to the marketplace and find new people to work with us. And that's really important for us, for me and for the project, is that we need new people to believe in us. That's why I spend time and I try to make our presentations and our things that we say to be exciting and easy to understand, because then we want to draw new people into our community, draw new people into our ecosystem, and that's how we can grow it. And for this, it's something very interesting that we've spoken about in the past, is the next steps for the capital markets and our listing. Because when I first came into Blocktrade. One of the things that I spoke about was the potential for Blocktrade itself to become the first European publicly listed exchange, one of the few publicly listed exchanges. So this is something that has definitely not been forgotten, and it's what we're doing here is giving a bit of a timeline on that, and this is what we're sort of looking at in Q4 of 2024. Um, we look to finalizing the signing up of an investment bank. I've already been interviewing several, and when I say interviewing, it means that, you know, this is not a situation where some people, they'll just take the first people who offers them something. We're in a slightly different position because I have really great exposure to the capital markets, and so experience in this in the past. And what this has been able to do for us is that instead of us looking for someone that's willing to sign us up, we're really going to be trying to hold a process where a few people who would be interested in us, we're just interviewing them and seeing who's going to be able to do the best job for us. Next part of this is that we'll be looking at preparation for what we call US GAAP, which is the generally accepted accounting practices. And what we're going to try to do here is we've already interviewed several people, and we'll appoint a capable CFO to assist our group in making this process possible. And what this is because to be publicly listed, you need to have, you know, certain accounting standards, and we get that sort of situation happening for us here. We'll be looking also at recapitalization, and what this means is that we'll have the opportunity for our community, together with us and other people, to join into the building this financial institution. And when I say financial institution, I don't mean just the self-regulatory organization, but my vision is hopefully to bring all of this to becoming a recognized financial institution, or in other words, a neobank, a new bank, a digital bank, a decentralized banking system, a self-custody capable banking system, to bring this dream into reality. And this is one of my dreams, was to be able to give access to really good financial services, and fair financial services, having been the victim of you know, certain regulatory organizations just unfair practices. I think this is really a great opportunity for all of us to rally behind a vision and a dream. In this case, it's not just my dream, but I think a lot of people have been interested in this, and we can try to make this happen. I will try my best to do that. By the Q1 of 2025, we'll be looking at PCAOB, which is basically what is called Public Company Accountants Oversight Board auditing. So this is very important step towards becoming a publicly listed company. So what we try to do here is to appoint a capable auditor to review all of our finances, to get everything ready. And also the second part is a lawyer ready to prepare for filing for what we call an S1 in the US. It could be also potentially an S4, and what an S4 is a registration statement. That means that your securities, so everybody that let's say who is in this AMA that has securities or shares in Blocktrade, we prepare those shares, or you know, some form of them, for registration, and registration with a regulatory authority. In this case, it would be the Securities and Exchange Commission of the US. An S1 is a new listing, and S4 is something that would happen if we did a reverse merge with another company. And what that means is that a company that is already listed on either NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, we would merge with them. So we would look at in Q1 of 2025 to have a lawyer ready for this preparation. And then Q2, we'll be looking at doing roadshows dealing with analysts, and we'll also do the pre-IPO capitalization, which basically means that, getting ready to make sure that we're going on to a stock exchange with really a strong capital base to achieve the dreams, as well as um, uh, uh, raising additional capital from the public markets, people that will share in our vision. We'll look at doing a pre-IPO capitalization in Q2 of 2025. So I went a little bit over, I think about 5 minutes over how long I intended to go into the Q&A, but that's okay. Apologize for that. We'll just get an opportunity now to get into the Q&A. So I'm just gonna close this up and stop sharing for a minute and start on the Q&A. Thank you to everyone for listening. I hope I've got no problems here. So I'm just going to go through all of the Q&A one by one, the ones that I can, and we'll take it from here. So starting from the bottom, sorry, I cannot read this. I cannot read this question, but I think it says something related to Class B shares, which is from Gordon Loan. I apologize. I'm not quite. I can't quite understand your language. Perhaps you could write it in English, and I'll be able to assist with that. Okay. Good question from Lauren. Does the FSR group operate in Cyprus? Yes. In actual fact, I believe we just received reauthorization to operate and work in Cyprus. Juan, what you can do, I see you've raised your hand. What you can do is if you can click on Q&A, you can ask, sorry, you can write your question in there, and I'll attempt to answer that. Okay, so from Carl Person Zitterl, did the fundraising end halfway due to the purchase? What will happen with the shares bought via Equito? All of these, what I can say is that there has been a supplement and in the preparation of final report of the fundraising that happened earlier this year, submitted to the CSSF in Luxembourg. And all the shares have been issued. We're just in a process now to change our cap table management system, but rest assured that all the shares that were purchased all have been issued. You'll have access to them, and we're looking at various ways of how we can enable you to trade them even pre-IPO. Again, from Carl Person Zettel, will the shares when are we able to sell our Blocktrade B shares? Will the shares in Investor Portal be converted to BTSH tokens? Sure. This is an easy question to answer. You actually, any person who owns stock in or shares in Blocktrade B stocks or A stocks, you are able to transfer your shares or sell them to someone that is interested in that. You just need to write into us. I'll add that information to this chat, but basically, if you'd like to transfer your shares, you just need to give us some of that information, who you are, who you'd like to transfer the shares to, and our team can assist with that. And then going forward, we're looking at, I know there was it's been things said in the past about tokenizing of these shares. This is something that I'm looking into. I know that we've already purchased that system. It's called Tokeny. It's something that I'm looking into to see what's the best way this can be done. And what we'll do is that over this quarter, I will look into this heavily and see what is the best way to do so. But with a potential listing or merger happening in the future, all of this may change in the sense that you would be able to buy and sell and access all of these things through the open market. From Wedner, Wagner, sorry. When are the first dividends planned, and in what periods will they be paid? And from which country will dividends be paid? When will be it possible to trade the Blocktrade tokens, and what are the benefits of the Blocktrade VIP card? So, as far as the first dividends plan, look, I think you can see from what we're looking at here and the project, we're still in a growth phase, a development phase. I know that in the past, maybe there were some promises made by certain people, maybe even management or other people. Those things uh, uh, there are some things that, of course, we take responsibility for, and we understand what's going on there. Um, but there's other things which, happen not officially by Blocktrade itself. Perhaps it was other people that spoke about it, or those types of things. What I can see now, what we're doing here is that, Blocktrade is in a growth phase right now. Generally, in this sense, we wouldn't be looking at dividends in the immediate, when I say very short term future, and that's because most of these companies, you can see, even like, for example, Amazon was more than 10 years before it made profit. Similar situation with Facebook, before many years before it paid dividends, because we're in a high growth kind of industry, and a tech sort of situation. What we'll be looking at is more growing our business and growing the value of our shares. And that's what I'm trying to do, increase shareholder value by creating a market for our shares itself. So uh, uh, let me see what we can do and give more updates of that over the next quarter. Especially when we're talking here about Blocktrade token trading, like I said, this system is ready. It's just a matter of making sure this thing is going to sort of work. So next one is from Nuno Galinha. Um, Everything perfect. And underneath that, we have a comment from Bostian Melik. And it basically is, hello everyone. I have one question. Me as Elite Club member, I bought Blocktrade STO shares. When Blocktrade will go public, and what will the initial share price? It was promised by Elite Club that Blocktrade will be on the stock exchange already at the end of 2021. Now, 3 years later, we have no information. Greetings. Thank you for your greetings. As far as what promises were made by Elite Club, I'm not affiliated with Elite Club, so I don't really I can't speak for them. What I can say is that their prospectus is put out. Blocktrade is a Luxembourg company. It already is a public unlisted company. And what we're trying to do here is make a market for these shares. As for what the initial price will be, this will be determined, after we assess the whole group, there's assets, and also feedback from the investment bank. But of course, what we're trying to do here in this short period of time is create a huge growth of the value. I mean, try. And this can really happen with the support of the community, with more understanding. And of course, it's very important that we all use the Blocktrade platform itself as well. I've mentioned earlier that I'm doing everything I can operationally to reduce costs, to increase synergies and integrations. So this is something that we're going to try and do over the next quarter. And so far as I'm concerned, whatever I've been trying to do, and whatever I've been promising, I feel that I've been on good track to achieve that. So I hope that the community can afford me a bit of space to try and make this happen. So we have a smiley face here. How much is the value of one B share at the moment? If I'm not wrong, the last round of sales, in the last prospectus, the price was somewhere between 21.6 cents and 24 cents, euros cents. So that was the last sale of Class B shares in Blocktrade. So I would say at the moment, it's somewhere between this amount. What's the actual market value? We don't have an open market for Blocktrade Class B shares at the moment yet, so I couldn't tell you for sure, but I can just tell you what was the last sale price. Same smiley face. When you aim to be profitable, for us, we're initially we're going to prioritize growth, but I would say that being profitable, is probably a target for us for in the next, I would say 18 months to 24 months. But of course, this is something that is subject to change. I must put a disclaimer on that, because to me, shareholder growth can, or shareholder value creation can happen better with growth of the company. I think there's, with what I've mentioned earlier, that there is a real market for investment grade products in this kind of tokenized and digital format. So I think that there's a lot of room to grow, and that if we target this, we'll be able to generate better value for the shareholders. Nuno Galinha asks, are shares still tokenized? So yeah, I addressed this earlier. Basically, our situation is that Tokeny platform is there. We're just doing a couple of parts, including lodging a supplement to the prospectus and finalizing the last share issuances, which were issued, but just finalizing them on the shareholder cap table management system. Once that happens, we'll assess how viable and how easy it's going to be for us to use the tokening system, which I mentioned, already paid for. We just have to see practical sense, because we want to make sure also that there's a few things. There needs to be the wallet. There needs to be, making sure that we still have access and contact for our shareholders, so that we're able to fulfill our requirements. And this will probably be done through like a nominee system. So we'll work on that very soon. Sure. I have Jean Kojar. Blocktrade is now regulated also in Slovenia. Slovenia is now changing policy about crypto regulations. Have you applied further in Slovenia? Are you searching for other regulations except Estonia? This is a good question. We're very soon there will be introduction of MiCAR, so markets in crypto for the whole of Europe, and have like a single system for this. We've been looking into this extensively, and currently we are having 3 different regulatory sort of I would say licenses or registrations in Estonia, Slovenia, and Italy. We're looking at where is going to be the best place for us to utilize and also get the fastest approval for MiCAR in the coming next 3 months. So this is a very interesting topic. We will look at this, and there's also potential for other jurisdictions other than those 3. We're exploring those now. A lot of people have been talking about, well, basically like Bybit comes to Austria, which is an interesting thing. There's also Ireland and other places. And I think what people are looking for in the current environment is a very stable and knowledgeable country and authority to basically operate from. So just reading through all the newest posts with a super amount of posts. So from Borsch, we have the last management team had big plans for Blocktrade and lots of promises, but in the end they abandoned it. How can we ensure that this time the company is in much more serious hands with much more professional knowledge to really launch this company to the moon? And how can we be sure that the new leadership, not just mercenaries, but rather missionaries? Well, look, I mean, I've stuck to this, and I've spoken to you guys over the period of the last few months. What I can say is that so far I've tried to really, instead of talking a lot, keep everything going. And as far as being professional and having professional knowledge, I think I've mentioned in the past, I'm the CEO of a NASDAQ listed public company. I'm happy to share my resume, CV, or information to anyone. I've mentioned this in the past about connecting with me on LinkedIn. I'm a professional person with a track record, and I like to keep it that way. And I think we can do the same thing for Blocktrade as well. Grant Gordon Lone asks, or when do Class B shares unlock? Class B shares are already unlocked. They never were locked. So as I mentioned, if there's a real prior to setting up the exchange system, if anyone would like to really transfer their shares, obviously there's not a marketplace for this at the moment. But if you'd like to transfer your shares, you can write into us, and we'll do our best to fulfill that request. Ivan asks, sir, are you planning to change something in the app um, to be more look like Binance, KuCoin, and other exchanges? I think it is a really good question, but for me, I wouldn't want to look at copying someone else's, but rather introduce new features and new systems that will be interesting to the users of blockchain, as I mentioned along the lines of my presentation. So this is something that we're really actively working on right now, building the API interfaces and more. And this is something that I'm going to do in focus on in the next quarter. So yes, we are developing this app. Alvaro asks, are we going to have the technical chart in advanced trading working soon? Absolutely. As I mentioned in my presentation, our situation really was to get the operational things sorted out. As some of you know, there were some issues. Well, it's not something that's a big secret. There were some issues. You, everyone will find out also when we make further announcements in the future. So for me, I really focused on and together with the team on the operational aspects. But next is the technical aspects, and we've got a technical team, dev team working on all of this as we speak. Um, I think we have a capable team there, and we're going to see what the next steps are going to be, not only to solve the advanced trading charts and other things, but also provide us with just much more depth of our marketplace. And part of that is going to be the development of the project in Q4, recapitalization of the project, and making more collaborations and partnerships. Um, Andre Gregorak asks, will you tokenize shares on the Polygon network as was the original plan for this year? Everything is ready there. We will do our best to make that happen. I've just got this situation where I have to set up the nominee structure and I feel comfortable with it, because we have eventually what happens is that if we're going to go public, we need to be able to access and speak to the individual shareholders and be able to how to say be in contact with these people and work with them. So we're going to work on this nominee structure. What happens is we now have like almost 6,000 individual shareholders, and when this happens, it's actually a really huge cost for a public company to contact and maintain, large amounts of shareholders. And what this happens is just becomes an unnecessary cost for the shareholders themselves. So we're going to work on how we can deal with this as well. M asks, will the two missing BTEX token burns still take place? This is something I'll have to get back to you guys on. I honestly, in the last few months, I have not focused a lot on the BTEX, even though I've mentioned that we've been working on partnerships for it. But it's going to take me a little bit to get a handle on exactly the tokenomics and what we plan for the future on this. But basically, with BTEX, I would like to look for a long-term solution to this. To Giga F, what is the current ownership structure taking into account shares bought through STO? Basically, FSR Group holds the Class A shares, which makes up more than 50% of the outstanding capital or outstanding shares, and the balance is held by the continues to be held in the same way as before. So your value of one share, or when I say the value or the voting value, and part of the value of it as a part of the whole has not changed. The A class shares or voting shares were just transferred. John Goa asks, when will the arcade games be back again? We'll give an update on that probably later this quarter. Joe asks, will you move from Luxembourg to Slovenia for regulatory purposes, or present in Luxembourg still necessary? We still have to have a presence in Luxembourg because we're a Luxembourg company. But as I mentioned, with MiCAR coming, we'll look at various different options within Europe. Total number of shares. Just the total number of shares just under 2 billion. The current total value of Blocktrade. Well, look, if you look at it based on the, again, I can't tell you what the current market value is, but I can tell you what it is based on the last sale of shares, and I think the last sale of shares was around about the 24-cent mark, and just under 2 billion shares. So that works out to be just under 500 million euros, I believe. Edith Coster asked, how can you establish and accepted all countries, financial markets, global SRO? This is a fantastic question. And so Edith, basically how we can do that is actually to create our own framework and then use technology to segment parts of how listings can happen and access to markets through that. So I've created sort of a bit of a plan for this, how it works. And basically what it does is that you can submit a project, have it reviewed by an AI, and that AI will determine how compliant this project is in various jurisdictions. And then also it can give you suggestions to make it compliant in more jurisdictions. And from there, what we can do is use this technology to explain to different jurisdictions and different regulators how our system works and hopefully get them to agree with it. Andres asks, when will Blocktrade Exchange will be available to use in UK? Good question. This is something that I would have to work on. We're looking at, obviously, first for us is MiCAR, but getting something registered in the UK could be something interesting for us to do as well. What's the current price of this? Zika asks, what's the current price of the STOs? As I mentioned, the last sale was around about the 21.6 to 24-cent mark, euros. Edith asks, will BTEX have a pivotal role in the business case of Blocktrade? This is something that I'm really trying to make sure it works going forward from here. I know that a lot of users of Blocktrade had also invested in BTEX, and so therefore it becomes very integral to what we do. I'm gonna think about how we're gonna do this. There's a combination. Probably in the Q4 or end of year update for Blocktrade, we'll make some announcement on this. Fabian Kozenitsky asks, you said that it's already possible. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's possible to transfer your shares. If you have a buyer, you send these details to us, and we'll try to make that happen for you. I think I asked the same question about back to UK. We'll work on this in Q4 of 2024. Bosjan says thank you. Yeah, no problem. Ivan asks, since I take over the company, sir, there's no adding tokens, no change in the app. Are you planning to change the app? Any new exchange for eCredit and BTEX token? This is all part of our plans. As I mentioned, initially I had to basically, what was happening, and I'll be very open with this, was that I had to get the structure working in a way which I really felt comfortable, the operational structure. That's number one. Number two is that it's very important for me that Blocktrade was efficient and not burning capital just without end. And that took me some time to get a hold of and get some of these things sorted out. I'm beginning to feel more comfortable with this at the holding level at Blocktrade SA. So once that happens, we can start on the development side of the project. Miguel Costa asks, how can we help to support the growth of Blocktrade? Engage and also you're responsible for our company. Thank you. Look, Miguel, this is just amazing question, and thank you for your support. I'm gonna create more opportunities for us to speak on this. I would like to create a system where we can have suggestions come from our shareholders and also users, and then we can one by one deal with that. Miguel, I think what's going to happen there is for us to launch something like this in Q4 of this year. I'm looking already and thinking about the platform, not just the Telegram one, but actually where we can see the progress of each suggestion. So one of the first things would be to get your friends that are interested in crypto to trade on Blocktrade, to also deposit your crypto into Blocktrade and use the platform. And we'll also look at different ways that people can stake and pledge their cryptocurrencies to help build the platform as well. Edith asks again, what is the actual owner structure of Blocktrade, A shares and B shares? I think it's the A shares are somewhere between 50 and 70% of the total outstanding shares after the latest round. Um, okay. Edith asks, who is the CEO and CFO management? Currently, we have a executive directors. I'm an executive director in Blocktrade SA. We're in this process, adding more people to this. Brian King, who has been a long-time collaborator of mine, he's giving a lot of support in this area, and he will play a pivotal role going forward from here. As far as the CFO is concerned, my presentation I mentioned, I have a really good candidate that's going to come in here with a huge experience in public listed companies, someone that I've known for also more than 20 years. And we'll make those announcements, I think, in the Q4 of 2024. Alex asks, thanks so far. So the BTEX slogan will rather be abandoned in the short term, but there are some potentials for gaming affiliations. No, I don't think I don't think it's something that you say it's abandoned for BTEX. It's not abandoned at all. It's just what I'm trying to do here is find a really fantastic use case for it. And also to make sure that those people who invested in it can participate in the growth of something in the future. I have a few ideas, and that's why we want to launch the SRO in the marketplace. Dirk Kreutzer asks, will the gaming be back in the app? Not in this quarter for sure. As I mentioned, we want to focus on building the investment grade products going forward from here. Gordon Lone asks, my shares are on MetaMask. How do we transfer them? This is an interesting question. Can you, if you'd like, Gordon, please send us an email or lodge a ticket about this, because I'm not sure how your shares are on MetaMask at this point of time. Andres says, thank you for your answer, no problem. Can we still buy shares at price? What price will they be? Yeah, we'll be looking at a recapitalization program very soon. And the pricing and other things we'll look at actually some very interesting things on this. Hopefully we'll be able to do that in the next couple of months and offer some information on this. I also plan the potential to come to Europe and meet a lot of you guys in the next month or so. And what we'll do is take it from there. All right, guys. We have a lot more questions here. So unfortunately, we've run out of a lot of time, which is just an hour. We have Ricardo Marquez. I didn't see any of your questions inside here. Is there something you'd like to say? Just I'll put the allowance mic here. Ricardo, you have something to say? You can unmute yourself. not, just type it in the chat. Okay. If you have, you can write to me in Telegram. So I really want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. It's quite late for me now. I know a lot of people here probably getting ready to go for their dinner. Um, I would really like to see and speak to you all soon again, very, very soon. Meet you guys in the near future. I will try to do that, I think, in November or yeah, I'm gonna try and focus to try and do that in November. So watch out for that, and we'll see opportunities that we can make a couple of stops during a bit of a roadshow among our community and our people, and I'll keep everyone updated from there. So yeah, thank you to everyone, and appreciate everyone for joining us at a short notice. I hope this has been really an interesting and informative kind of session for everybody. And yeah, please feel free to give us feedback. Feel free to contact us. You can contact me in Telegram or add me on LinkedIn. And we'll take things from there. Thank you very much to everyone. Have a great evening and a great week ahead. Thank you. Thank you. By the way, I think this has been one of the biggest AMAs ever for Blocktrade. So yeah.